Hello and welcome with the hottest topics in La Liga. We're going to dive right inside LaLiga Insiders with Rodrigo Fáez and Gemma Soler, Fernando Palomo. There's a certain air of a pessimism surrounding Real Madrid as they drew 0-0 in Real Betis. Xavi accepts that their team is not playing well. And what's new with our insiders? There's certain troubles for Ancelotti and a certain happiness for Carlo Simeone as he breaks an Atletico de Madrid record. Gemma, Rodri, before we start talking about the hottest topics in La Liga and about Real Madrid and their, cynicism around their 0-0 draw against Betis, let's look at the table. It's 9 points now, separating Barcelona and Real Madrid. Barca with their 8th 1-0 victory of the season. 6-1. That was Atletico de Madrid. Yeah, Cholo Simeone's Atletico was able to score 6 goals in one game. That's against Sevilla, but that explains a lot. As they surpassed Real Sociedad and put themselves into third position and established themselves as well as serious candidates to chase at Real Madrid in that second place if results go their way in the 14 match days that are left in La Liga. But Gemma, let's go into the game last night against Betis at Benito Villamarin. A great atmosphere, but Real Madrid again facing what they have faced in the last couple of games. They can't score a goal.
And that's the thing. No goal, no glory is what Real Madrid are experiencing in the last games. The lack of efficiency in the final third, and I think there's something kind of physical, yes, but also psychological. Once the minutes are happening, they get some kind of nervous and they don't have creativity there to be able to find solutions. Every time they play against a team with a defense with a good order, they are struggling lately, and I think it's something that we have to add to the fact that Karim Benzema is not at the top of his form, probably neither Vinicius, and the fact that Rodrigo, he's a great refreshment coming out the bench, but when he's playing the 90 minutes, sometimes it comes a time that he cannot do what he does so well, and this is being unpredictable and generating danger to the rivals. So yeah, it was a pragmatical game from engineer Pellegrini with the Real Betis. Actually, in the first half they had more chances, they generate more danger, and eventually at the second half they thought that it was good for them to get a point against Real Madrid. And now, as you were mentioning, is 9 points adrift Barcelona in the table, and it's a huge gap. It's never been bigger this season, and I think that Real Madrid, being realistic, they think that it's they cannot win it. Barcelona can lose it, but Real Madrid cannot win it.
That's probably the best way you can phrase that is Barcelona's league to lose. So hard for Real Madrid to climb up when there's a 9-point gap between them. That's why there's certain doom around Real Madrid when you think about it. They're still looking for Benzema. There's a Ballon d'Or that's missing out there. Rodri.
Yeah, the thing is that when you are used to what Benzema did last season, you expect Benzema to be at least at the same level. But I think it wasn't that realistic last season's Benzema performance. And now we are in front of maybe a more standard performance by the French striker. And that is something that Real Madrid are experiencing at the same time, that lack of scoring, because everyone depends on Benzema, and that is the key for me of this season on Real Madrid's attack. I mean, when you depend only in one guy, and we already know that Benzema is a great guy. He's the Golden Ball last year, and we know how important he is for the team, but you only depend on him. You gotta depend on more players. You need a replacement for him, because we've already experienced his injuries in this season, and this is something, or there is a feeling in Real Madrid that they should have signed another striker, because it's not enough for Real Madrid expectatives playing with Benzema, Vinicius, and only Rodrigo. Because if Vinicius and Benzema fails a little bit in some points of the season, you are going to struggle a lot in attack. And we all know that this season Real Madrid have a struggle on defense and they struggle on creativity in the midfielder, and they are struggling on attacking because they have these chances but they don't score. So, when you are looking for a guy like Benzema, you expect a little bit more.
That's exactly what Carlo Ancelotti said after the game.
Estoy afectado más que enfadado. Afectado, nos afecta esto, que es bastante raro que este equipo con esta calidad no pueda marcar un gol en 3 partidos. Es la realidad. ¿Te afecta esto? Sí, me afecta mucho. Me afecta mucho. Yo creo que también los jugadores están afectados porque creo que tenemos la calidad para marcar goles, como lo hemos hecho siempre. Los hemos hecho siempre. Creo que el problema es ahí, un poco más de eficacia y menos mirarse, ser un poco más eficaz.
Well, so far it's been 41 shots on goal in the last 3 matches, Gemma, and only 1 scored for Real Madrid. That header from Alvaro in the derby in the previous match day. And they finished the first half again scoreless, of course. That's happened way too often. And it's been too often as well that they've been shut out for the 4th time in the last 11 games. It's a goal. It's a club in search of a goal, and they can't find it. But there's other aspects as well to it. Maybe Ancelotti's rotations are not working. Maybe Ancelotti did not refresh the squad the way he should have. You look at the bench, you see Mariano, Hazard, they're non-existent. They basically former players. They actually look like they're touring Spain for free.
I think this season it's happening what we were expecting last season. When Ancelotti was not refreshing, as you were mentioning, the squad, but with these 12, 13 men, it was going all right, and they were able to be the main team of the season of Europe, the sensation with those comebacks in the Champions League and being able to control the rivals in LaLiga and clinch both titles. This season it was different. They were expecting so much Mbappe. It didn't happen, so they decided not to do a shiny signing in the forward line. That's why probably now we all know so much about football. We now can see that they needed a forward to be able to play when Benzema is not there, is not fit, or is not having inspiration. So this season with the World Cup and with unluck with the injuries, I think they are struggling with that. And Ancelotti, he's not very fond of making inventions, taking new players. Yes, he's doing it with Alvaro Rodriguez, but not so much, and it's not working for him because it's not what he believes. So this year the physicality, I think, is not as good. We could have expected that in a World Cup year in the middle of the season, and they are struggling because of that.
You mentioned before the World Cup, we're going to have to see how the team reacts after the players come back from Qatar. But then you look at the schedule, and they haven't stopped, Rodri. It's been Copa del Rey, Supercopa, La Liga's activities, Champions League, the World Club Championship as well. This week it's gonna feel like strange for Real Madrid that hasn't stopped playing for 2 months. They face Espanyol early on Saturday before they opened their doors again for Liverpool in the second leg of that 5-2 score line in the round of 16 in the Champions League before they travel to Barcelona for the Clásico, which we'll have on all of our ESPN platforms. But Rodri, the team was being anxiously awaiting for a week without a match as they're going to face this week. They looked tired yesterday.
Yeah. Qatar, for me, it was a headache for Real Madrid. If we compare the very early Real Madrid in this season, and if we compare that team to now, I mean, it looks like a completely different side. And I remember before, maybe the 2-3 games before Qatar 2022, I remember, how Real Madrid performances were kind of very similar to what we are seeing now at the moment. I mean, I remember by then that, all the players were like, oh, it hurts, I'm not going to play. And now now after this World Cup. It looks like they are tired and more than anxious. That they are tired, that they think really fast, really quick, but their legs doesn't really reply or respond at the same time that it should be. That is why it looks like, the present for Real Madrid is like, okay, we need to win Espanyol, we need to win Liverpool, at least go through without any problems in the next round of the Champions League. And then you gotta put all the eggs in the Clásico box. For me, it's like the only maybe hope for Real Madrid. When you are in a tunnel like Real Madrid are in now at the moment, the only light is like, okay, we gotta win Espanyol, and we gotta win the Camp Nou to try to make some pressure on Football Club Barcelona. Because if not, this is gonna be really difficult and almost impossible for Real Madrid to get their best version back, and even to fight for LaLiga title in less than 1 month and a half. Because if not, you're gonna be completely lost.
We're gonna turn the page now and talk about La Liga leaders I'm sorry, I really apologize. La Liga leaders Barcelona. And if we talk about Barcelona this season, we're saying that they're on a record-setting season. You don't imagine, Gemma, when it comes to setting records, that those will involve one of the best defenses in the history of La Liga. But it is. Is Barcelona the most Italian team in Spain?
Oh yeah, there is some catenaccio happening in Xavi's squad. If you tell, the world is upside down. La Liga is upside down. If you have told me a couple of years ago that Barcelona would be comfortable 2 games in a row, parking the bus, scoring only once in 2 games, and that Atletico Madrid would be scoring 6, I would think that you maybe are a little bit lost. But no, this is happening, and it's true. I've been following Barcelona as a journalist for over a decade almost. I've never seen this team that much comfortable defending, being there. I remember being behind the goal in the Clásico of the Copa del Rey, and they were comfortable there. It's true that they didn't want to play like that, but they felt comfortable. They are reliable in the back. This is something we haven't seen in a decade, I think, in Barcelona. But it's true that there never was an Araujo and a Koundé in such a great form, and they are playing like this. They are trying to find resources. I think it's a pragmatical exercise of surviving. They are aware that they are winning La Liga in this kind of clashes, and let's see how it goes after that, because it's not what Barcelona are used to. You can say that, okay, I have a lot of injuries now. I don't have Pedri. They are missing him so much, and I'm missing goal in the forward line. But the truth is, Fernando, I think they could be playing. I think they could be using that resource quite often, because they do feel comfortable playing like this.
Xavi is definitely not comfortable recognizing that his team is actually the one that becomes a defensive squad. And he recognizes that in the press conference after the 1-0 victory over Valencia.
Yo estoy muy contento, la actitud, quedamos con 10 y defendemos bien, todo el mundo corre, trabaja para el equipo, pero sí tenemos que mejorar en el juego, ¿no? En la construcción, en el entender más el juego de ataque. Sí que tenemos bajas importantes en ese sentido, ¿no? Pero igualmente debemos mejorar, ¿no? Esta semana nos irá bien para trabajar, para descansar, para recuperar a gente. Hemos tenido partidos muy físicos. Creo que el equipo le está costando últimamente, ¿no? Hay piernas cansadas, hay bajas, pero bueno, en este sentido nos irá bien descansar. Pero tenemos que mejorar en el juego, hay que ser autocrítico. Los números son muy buenos, pero tenemos que mejorar en el juego.
And the famous Barcelona entorno, the surroundings in Barcelona, definitely appreciate, Rodri, that Xavi is recognizing that the team needs to improve. There also needs to be said that this game against Valencia was played without Lewandowski, Dembele, Gavi, Pedri. There's 4 starters, and one that will be missing next Saturday. Araujo was sent off. Therefore, parking the bus became more of a logistical decision than anything else. But there is question on whether Barcelona have actually been improving by recognizing that they can play differently.
It's not enough for me. I understand Xavi saying that on the press conference after the game, But for me, it's not enough. I mean, and even for Barca, it's not enough. I mean, we've already known how Barca play, and how their tradition is that they need to win, but they need to win playing better than the rivals. And now I don't see really, that tradition being effective now at the moment, because I am seeing a more Atletico de Madrid Barca and a more Simeone rather than a Barca or a Xavi side. So that is why for me, Barca need a little bit more. And I understand that it's an under construction team, and even Xavi is an under construction coach, because I can say or obligate Xavi to say, okay, you need this right now at the moment, because he still need a little bit of time. But at the same time, it's like, I see all the Catalan newspapers and all the journalists around Barcelona saying okay, we won, that's enough. No, you are Barcelona. And when we say that Real Madrid need to win because that's what they need, in their story, Barca need to play a little bit more. And I know that you depend on Pedri and Gavi. Both of them are 19 years old, 20 years old, and they're really young. But you need a little bit more, because you made a great effort last window transfer on the summer to sign great players. That Chelsea wanted, that Liverpool wanted, that Man United wanted, and you get them, and you still got them on the squad. So that is why, for me, Barca need a little bit more. Because if they are so pragmatic like this year, it could be valid only for this season. Because next year, when Real Madrid get a little bit better reinforced, you're going to struggle if you don't play a little bit better.
We'll talk about next year when next year comes around. Gemma, let's talk about last game before we move on. Opportunity, a game won, definitely. An opportunity lost, though, for some players in Barcelona. One in particular, Ferran Torres, misses a penalty, and is not at his brightest. When will he finally arrive at Barcelona? We have to remember he was a $55 million signing a year ago.
Yes, and that figure will always follow him as a shadow for this player, that he is not enjoying a momentum, neither in Barcelona, neither in the Spanish national team. He's always there. Coaches tend to be very fond of him because it's true that he works a lot. But at the end of the day, he's a forward, and he needs to score, especially when there's no Lewandowski, when there's no Dembele, when there's no Pedri, and he is not doing that. It seems like it's a player. He already admitted that he had some kind of psychological issue. He had to deal with that of having too much pressure for that number and for that, but it's like he's running out of opportunities, because we will be talking a bit later how is it going with the injuries, but he will be enjoying less minutes, and it's gonna be his second season with Barcelona, and not being able to be to be that unpredictable player in the side of the forward line, bringing danger and being a constant danger to the rivals. So it's yet another opportunity missed for Ferran Torres. That as the results are going well, there's no whistles or booing at the Camp Nou, but he is the kind of player that if this doesn't happen, he might be the target of that booing.
He's got so far just as many shots as Osasuna's Quique, as many shots as Sevilla's Eric Lamela, with far fewer games than the last one, at least. Let's go right into the insider to see what you guys bring us as news into our show. Rodri, we'll start with you. It's definite. We have talked about it before, but Carlo Ancelotti is facing a serious problem.
Well, he's facing a key month for his future. We reported last week that Real Madrid board were kind of disappointed by the way Ancelotti prepared the Clásico against Barcelona. They weren't really happy, first of all, about the result, and secondly, about the way that Real Madrid played that game against Xavi's side. So that is why the board were really disappointed, because they understand that some players should have played. in front of some of the starting 11 Real Madrid against Barcelona, and secondly because they complained about Carlo Ancelotti that didn't have that plan B that a game against Barcelona needed to. And those criticisms from the Real Madrid board maybe increased since last night game and last night draw against Betis, because they don't really understand why, for example, Ceballos disappeared in this starting 11 from Real Madrid in these last games, and they don't really understand why Real Madrid only scored 1 goal in the last 3 games. They understand at the same time that maybe the squad is not the proper one for expectations that Real Madrid need every season, but at the same time they don't really understand why Carlo Ancelotti didn't rotate or he rotated in some cases that maybe there were no need to. So that is why in the next month Carlo Ancelotti have a great test, and it's going to be key for his future. We also reported last week that he wanted to accomplish his contract with Real Madrid that expires on June 2024. But the thing is that depending on what happens in the next month, let's see what Real Madrid has to say at the end of the season to say like, okay, perfect, maybe you can continue as Real Madrid coach, or maybe we decide not to continue this and we say goodbye, we hug each other, and we make a kind of farewell to see who will be the next Real Madrid coach. Let's see what happens, but you know, this month is going to be key for Ancelotti.
We have to remember the same thing happened to Ancelotti in his first time around. He was almost out of the club before winning the Champions League in Lisbon. Faced him or saved him from being let go, something that happened the year after that. We'll remain with Ancelotti, going with you, Gemma. You were at Benito Villamarin yesterday as Betis faced Real Madrid, a Betis side coached by Manuel Pellegrini, a coach that has won a title in the Premier League. So has Carlo Ancelotti. So in their past experience in Premier League, they ended up chatting about it.
Yeah, because we were lucky enough to interview both managers, and it was at the same time. So one had to wait for the other. And of course, with a lot of sportsmanship, they say hi. And really quickly, they started talking about that 7-0 trashing defeat of Liverpool against Man United. And of course, we were not there sneaking the conversations, but I could see the faces of shock, surprise of both coaches, very interested in that game, because let's remember that Real Madrid will face Liverpool next week, and Pellegrini is facing Man United in Old Trafford on Thursday. And of course, they couldn't watch the match because they were preparing for their game. It was just before that Betis Real Madrid, but they were shocking, and they were like trying to find an explanation for what happened. So as you were mentioning, it's not very common to have 2 Premier League managers that have won that title. They talk and they seem very, very shocked for what happened there in Anfield. And just about that game, let me add you that after that point that it's not enough for Real Madrid, President Florentino Perez was also in the locker room giving hope to the football players, and I could see him talking a long conversation with Fede Valverde, who was of course not happy with the result, quite serious, and the president was like cheering him a little bit up in a quite long conversation.
Rodri, we move on to you now. We spoke a little bit about Atletico de Madrid's 6-1 victory over Sevilla. That's definitely brought some needed happiness for Diego Simeone.
Yeah, it was about time for Simeone, because he has struggled a lot this season. Firstly, with those Champions League and Europe League eliminations, and secondly, because he didn't have the right point for Atletico de Madrid team in this season. Now that everything is getting a little bit better, he celebrated last Saturday night that breaking record, making him the best coach in Atletico de Madrid era, and the one who coached more times the team in consecutive games, 613 games, passing that Luis Aragonés legend. This is something emotional for him. He was really emotional. He was almost crying in the interview that we got for ESPN at the end of the game. He was very close to the people. He was hugging everyone. He was saying thank you to the players, to the sporting direction, and even for the Atletico Madrid board members that were around. And it was really a special night for him. Knowing also that his little kids and even Giovanni Simeone came to celebrate with him and the rest of the family. Anyway, the thing is that in that interview that I just mentioned after the game with ESPN, he said that he wanted to stay at Atletico Madrid till the end of his contract. We remember again that he will be out of Atletico Madrid, at least his contract ends in June 2024, and his desire is to stay at Atletico Madrid because he believes in the project and he still thinks that he's fit enough and strong enough to lead this Atletico Madrid project. So let's see what happens, and it looks like he's gonna stay. I'm not gonna assure it 100% because no one really knows what will happen from now till the end of the season, but it looks like, you know, at least from what my sources told me after the game, even from the board members, it looks like it's going to be really difficult to get a replacement for Simeone because they are happy with the Argentinian coach.
Barcelona might not be happy, but this will be welcome news for them. They don't have any European scheduled game this week because they're out of Europe. As Xavi said in the press conference, it'll be a welcome rest for a lot of players, a lot of injuries, as well as we've spoken before. The absence of Ronald Araujo in next match against Atletico will be certainly one we'll keep an eye on. He was red card against Valencia, so he won't have a chance to come back. But there's some players whose injuries or recovery periods are coming to an end. Who might be back for Barcelona in the coming match days?
Yes, Fernando, because the infirmary of Barcelona has been quite full lately. That's why they explain this change of style a little bit. But there is hope looking at Barcelona, and especially for one key player, Robert Lewandowski. He started working by himself, but already with the ball on Saturday. He has been keeping training since then. And what our sources told us is that he's having good feelings, and is if everything goes right, as you were mentioning, no game this midweek, so he will be able to play in the Cathedral in San Mamés on Sunday. So that's a key player for Xavi, and he might be able to be back to the squad. Talking about Dembele, now it's just 6 weeks since his injury. That's the weeks they told us that he might be having to be out of the team. So maybe it's a little bit too tight for him, but depending on how he feels, he will start training with the ball this week. If he's feeling okay, he might be able to be added to the squad, and depending on the game, the feelings of the player, how is everything, he might be able to have some minutes there, but not as a main role, not as a starter. And there's no way, let's forget for now about Pedri. The goal for Pedri is that he would be fit for El Clásico on ESPN March 19. That would be the goal for Barca. And you were talking about Araujo being ruled out for this game because he's booked. Very careful, because the rest of the players, that if they see a yellow in San Mamés, they won't be able to play El Clásico because it's not a short number. It's Busquets, Kessi, Ferran, Rafinha, and if plays also Dembele. So that's something we have to take into account.
We have to take into account as well that Athletic Club, if one thing they bring will be intensity, and that requires a lot of strong legs, and a strong leg might lead to a yellow, as we know. Rodri, Atletico Madrid have been trying to find a replacement for Kieran Trippier for a while now. They're still looking for it.
Yeah, still on that way, because I mean, no one convinced really 100% to Simeone or to the sporting direction. Maybe the only one is Nahuel Molina this year, but at the same time, he didn't start really well. We know that he was maybe more focused on on the Qatar World Cup 2022 rather than getting a faster adaptation to Atletico Madrid. And now he's feeling really well and he's playing really well, maybe at the same level that Simeone wants him to be at. But at the same time, Atletico Madrid are looking for another option for that right back position, because since Kieran Trippier left Atletico Madrid to get to Premier League's Newcastle, they didn't find any good enough option for what Atletico Madrid are looking for. That is why Arnau Martinez, we mentioned this name a lot of times before, in the next month and a half, was observed in person by some Atletico Madrid Sporting Direction members in the game that Girona played against Getafe this last weekend. They wanted to see him in person, they wanted to follow his evolution, and they understand that this is not the first time that they are gonna follow Arnau Martinez in person, because they want to make like a great following to this youngster in Girona, to see if he's gonna be at the level that Atletico Madrid need to. And the thing is that when you talk to the players camp, they are looking for some more options, because they are aware that Atletico Madrid have more options on the table, and they know that maybe Atletico Madrid is not the right team to go or to sign for in this next summer window transfer, because maybe they need a little bit of more continue playing for the player in order not to stuck. They want to wait a little bit. They know that some Premier League clubs are going to knock on their door, so they don't are in a hurry to get a club as soon as possible. So Atletico Madrid aren't in a hurry to sign Arnau Martinez, because they have some other names that are really interesting for the future.
Interesting developments yesterday, as Barcelona had a penalty at the beginning of the second half. There was a little bit of a discussion between Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati. One of the best penalty takers in European football was on the field, and Frank Kessie. And now a debate: who takes the penalties when Lewandowski is not around, Gemma?
Yeah, well, there was this a little bit of drama. Later was explained, and there is an explanation why specialists like Kessie didn't take the shot out of that penalty, and this is because before the game it is already decided. If Lewandowski is in the field, no drama, he's gonna take it. If not, Kessie, but he was a substitute, so he was not number 2 on the list. Ferran Torres was. This is decided before.